Welcome to the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent.
Steve, good afternoon. Welcome back to the Friday at 4 podcast series, episode 35.
35, huh? Wow, it's great. Well,
35.
yes, it is great to be here with you, Chuck, and everybody else. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So today, well, this week has been pretty busy, pretty crazy week. I'm excited for the future and things that have been going on this week.
Mhm.
I wanted to, just reach out to you and say, hey, this week has been fantastic. So
It has been a good week. It's been a very
yeah,
fast week, but it's a good
yeah.
week. Yeah.
Yeah, I said every time we come on Friday, I'm like, Friday already. Jeez, it's just rolling right by, you know?
Well, when you're busy, and hopefully in a good, busy way, but when you're busy, time does fly by. And then you're like, wait a minute, I didn't finish half what I wanted to do, but
Yeah,
because it's productive. So that's a good thing.
so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, topic for today. What you got?
So, kicking around some ideas, and what if we spoke a little bit about the economy and its impact on what's going on with people financially, personally, financially in your business, mentally, psychology? Wrong.
Psychologically.
Thank you. Say that three times fast. Psychologically. Well, I never
Psychologically.
took that in college. Okay. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of different things about what's going on in the economy. And
Yeah.
here comes my disclaimer again.
Again. I'm gonna
Have
put it
to
on
do
screen
this.
next
Have
time.
to do this. Um, just two guys giving you our opinions. We're not tied to anybody. We are not, and I repeat, we are not making any kind of political statements here.
Yeah.
Want to stay away from politics.
I'm glad you
We're,
mentioned that because I definitely meant to tell you about that earlier. I'm glad we don't talk politics.
no, I
Yeah.
don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I, in any conversation about anything, there's three sides to every story. There's, let's just say, your side, my side, and somewhere in the middle, which is where the truth pretty much lies.
Yeah.
And you start getting into those topics of politics, sex, religion, you're opening up a can of worms.
Yeah.
You will, no matter what the topic is, there's always going to be one or more people who disagree. And that's
Yeah.
okay because, again, it's your opinion, not telling the world what to do.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that because way back when I first got started with the Q.A.C. team podcast, I had recorded an episode with someone who was really religious. And this person had reached back out to me and started to dispel some things that we talked about as false. You know what you're talking about, Chuck. It's not real. And I decided to say at that point, that podcast will never get posted, and I will never ever talk about anything religion in a podcast. And I've
And
stuck to
again,
that over 200 episodes.
wow. Now, again, there is nothing wrong with religion.
Yeah,
Everybody has the right, again, opinion.
yeah,
Everybody has the right to believe what they want.
you
I
got
have
it.
no problem with that because everybody is different. And
Yeah,
I respect everybody's right to believe in whatever they want.
yeah.
The only thing that I ask is that you don't force your opinions on me
Yep.
because you don't
I'm
know
not.
what
You don't
I
know what I
believe.
believe. Yeah.
So if I'm
So if I
respecting you, and there's an echo in here somewhere, Chuck. I don't know. There
You or
is.
me?
Me.
Me?
Oh,
You?
it
Yeah.
just went away. There was a short echo. So if I'm going to respect you for your opinions, then just respect me for mine. That's all I'm asking. Again, believe
Absolutely.
whatever you want. Just
Yeah.
draw the line of you have your thing, I'll have my thing.
Yep.
So when it comes, kind of coming back a little bit, when it comes to the economy, we're not making a political statement. We're just saying, based on our experience, this is what we're seeing to people we are dealing with, which is a very tiny piece of the world. We get that. So,
And key word, right? Experiences. We're experiencing things from our perspective of what we're seeing that's happening in our world,
mhm,
not somebody else's world.
correct.
Their world could be some made up, some space 1999 stuff,
Hmm.
space 2035 stuff. But we're talking about what we are experiencing, what we're trying to accomplish, and how we're trying to push ourselves forward, and
Hmm.
how we can help other people push forward as well through some
Right,
difficult times, right?
right. Absolutely.
All the
Absolutely.
answers, we don't really know what we're doing, but we want to try to help, right?
Right. Just trying to
Yeah.
help to give people maybe a different perspective. Maybe people will find some solace in saying, oh, yes, somebody else is feeling the same thing I am.
Yeah.
Again, not taking sides, not making political statements.
Well, Joe,
So,
I think you hit it right, is that you and I are not alone. We are all feeling this around the world, not just the country. This
correct.
same thing we're dealing with is around the world.
It
You know,
is.
we're all
Mm,
struggling. And, while we focus on, you know, the USA side of it, that's because that's where we live,
mm,
I think we focus on how we can help Americans and how we can really help the United States and how we can help people who are watching this.
mhm.
You know, we may have something that they can listen to and take some advice from, right?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that all being put aside.
Okay. But I think it's something that had to be said. So,
Oh,
okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I
So I'm
agree.
glad we did. Right.
Yeah, I agree.
So if we start no particular order, because this is ad lib
Mm.
here, quite honestly, it is.
Yeah.
Um, let's say we started with the financial side of a business. So having a business in good times, depending on the type of business you're in, there's always the revenue side, which is sales. So you have money coming in, and then there's all your expenses. You know, your rent, your salaries, your insurances, your utilities, whatever else. And in good times, people tend to have a better opportunity to make money. And that's kind of what it's about. We're in business to make money. Yes, to serve people and do the right thing, but also to pay bills, you need money. But when times are not as good as they could be, like today or these times, that income piece, that revenue piece starts to sag. So it could be anywhere from people don't have money to buy your goods and services. It could be costs are going up because minimum wage is going up. It could be because of the tariffs. It could be whatever product or service you're selling is now passe and something new came in, so people don't want your service anymore. There could be any number of reasons why. So, from a business perspective, how do you adjust financially, psychologically, because now you have to change your mindset to get
Mm.
yourself back on track?
Yeah.
And whether you're a small business or a major corporation, there is still a certain number of steps that have to be taken, smaller or same steps, but in magnitude could be huge. It's like if
Yeah.
the example is if you're out on a boat and you're in a rowboat and you want to like steer the boat to the right. I'm not a boat person, so sorry for the terminology. You want to steer the boat to the right, you row the left oar and you turn the boat to the right. But if you were on a massive oil tanker, to get that ship, that oil tanker to go to the right, could be miles and miles for it to work because the ship's so big it takes time to slowly move. Well, that's the same thing with whether you're a small business or a major corporation, depending how big, how many moving pieces,
Yeah.
um, clients, vendors, whatever, takes time.
Yeah.
So it's the financial side and then it's the psychological side. So from my perspective, that's where I am sitting from my perspective, the financial side. From your side, having going in or having going in good English terminology there, having gone into, I'm doing real well today, having gone into multiple small businesses, how do you find or what are you seeing as the mood, the sentiment? Are the businesses able to cope and change, or are they running into problems?
Yeah, well, I'm going to take it from the real granular level and hit it from this point. So you have people who are uncertain about the economy, right? Inflation. So people are trying to stretch their dollar further. So let's say you go to McDonald's, right? It's a $4 meal. You're going to spend $4, not a lot of money, but your $4 is well spent because, you might not have the $4 till next week.
Hmm.
So you go to McDonald's, you get a burger, fries, and a drink. You sit down, the burger's not the way you wanted. It's sloppy, it's missing something. Now you're agitated because the economy's tough right now. The dollar's tough right now. So you get up, you're aggravated, you reach that counter, and you really give it to this young kid at the counter because your burger is jacked up and you ain't happy about it. And this poor kid's looking at you like, what the hell? That's not my fault, but let me make it. And what I got to do with this? So you're screaming at y'all want another burger, blah, blah, blah. So this poor person goes back, gets the manager, says his burger's not right. The manager tries to make it right, fix another burger. The person's still screaming because, they're upset that they have to deal with this. Time is of the essence, got to be somewhere. So you see how the ball's rolling, how this whole psychological part's playing in, you know, and I've actually seen this played out in
Wow.
several businesses, not just a restaurant, but I've seen this
Wow.
recently. And it really struck me why I would like to discuss this topic because, the whole psychological side is really tough right now where people are struggling or having a hard time.
Yep.
Even if you're buying a McDonald's meal and something's not right, they're really stressing out, and I've
Yeah.
seen it.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's the granular level, right? That's really minute, and then you could go deeper with, how the manager handle it with the restaurant, how the
Mm.
restaurants are handling it overall. If you have 50,000 locations, could this one incident be a norm in 50,000 locations? Now you have a big corporation struggling because of one burger that's not made right in 50,000 locations one time, right?
Yeah.
And then you take the small business owner who, they get it right 100 times, but one time the burger's wrong, and then you're blasting on social media like it's the worst company
Right.
ever. But yet McDonald's, you'll eat it wrong again for 1,000 times and never say a word. You know?
It's all perception. It's how
Yeah,
people take it. And you're
yeah,
right. We're so stressed about so many things that that smallest thing will set somebody off, and it's
yeah.
not fair to the person receiving it because it may not be their fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
99.9% of the time it's not because you have all these moving parts in every business. You have the cashier, you have the cooks, you have the manager, you have the drive-through,
Right.
and all these things that go into the product, right? It could be a stale bun. It could have been maybe it wasn't made right. Maybe it was sitting a day too long. Maybe that's why it wasn't cooked properly, right?
Yeah.
The ketchup old, the bun, the mustard, the pickle. I mean, it's all these things that could factor in.
Yeah.
So that poor person would take a step back and say, it's just a burger. It's not right. I know if I say something, they'll make it right.
Yeah.
And if we just take a second to really realize that, look, we're all struggling right now. Let's get
Yeah.
through this together, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, that would be the smart, the right way to do things. But
yeah,
again, we're also stressed.
yeah.
Um, I mean, if you want to go back just a little bit, if you have the financial side from the business, let's take a look at the individual person.
Mhm.
So, yes, minimum wage went up, depending on, again, where you work and
Your area,
salary
right, right.
versus whatever. Um, but minimum wage goes up, which means there's more expense to the business. So the business then says, for me to make the same money, I have to raise my prices. But how far can I raise? So then there's a combination of, do you raise the price or Do you reduce people's hours that
Mhm.
are hourly so you're not paying as much labor so you don't have to raise the price and you get the same thing? But if you now have less people, you may not give the same service to the customer. Then you have people that were working and depending on a paycheck now have less hours, or they're not there anymore and have no paycheck.
Yeah. And the other
So,
side of this too, right? Think about this. The owner tells everybody, especially the cooks,
mm,
you got to cut corners because we got to get the same amount of money made for this burger because our profit margin needs to be X percent.
mhm,
So he's like, okay, boss, so we'll put one less pickle on or one less squirt of mustard. And the customer might notice that, right?
right.
That could affect how that burger was created,
Mhm,
hence upset the customer because it wasn't right.
correct.
So these all these
Correct.
things that just work together that create this
Yeah.
issue,
Yeah,
you
they
know?
do. And it is a
Yeah,
big issue. How many
yeah,
times recently have you gone into a supermarket or some food store, just as the example, and you buy a bag of potato chips, which used to have 9 ounces of potato chips. Now it's got 8 ounces. It's the same size bag. It's the same price, but unless you read the label and are aware enough that it went from 9 ounces to 8 ounces, you're not going to know the difference. But what that does is it reduces the expense to the business. It might potentially keep somebody's job because now they can afford, with the increased salary, they can now take the increased salary away from the cost of the potato chip in the bag, if that makes
right.
sense.
Yeah, yeah,
So it kind of balances off. But in the
yeah,
end, we're slowly hurting the consumer, we're hurting the employee, we're hurting the business.
yeah. And do you
So
remember back in the day when things were labeled as sold by weight, not by volume? Do you remember those
yes,
days?
I
That's
do
gone. I haven't
remember
seen
that.
it on any packaging anymore. Yeah.
You won't do that because selling somebody by so selling something by weight, now people are going to know for that same 1 pound of something that used to cost me $5 now costs me $10. They're going to know it right away.
Right. Because
So
what weighs more, right? 10 pounds of butter or 10 pounds of feathers? What weighs more? And people look at
I'm
you
not
like,
sure
oh,
which one does weigh more. No,
oh.
let me tell you, when I was growing up for years, the thing was which weighs more, a pound of nails or a pound of feathers? And everybody would say nails until somebody woke up and realized it's a pound either way.
Pound is a
They
pound, buddy.
weigh the same. But for years when I was young, I never understood that. I just couldn't figure it out because I didn't think it through.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's a great topic. I like
Yeah.
this subject because,
Yeah.
you know, how we together can look at,
Mm.
the problem we see that's going on and how both of our business models really connect together with this
Right.
topic, right? Because from the financial side, the business owner's trying to save money.
Hmm.
And from my side, you're trying to fix problems because you're trying to save money. So it really works together, right?
Yeah, it does. It does. Then you take a look at the population as a whole. And I heard something or I read something late last year. If the statistic is still accurate, it was 10,000 people a day are turning 65 in the US.
Wow.
Yeah, if that statistic is still accurate. And what that means is all these people are starting to age. And as they age, are they still employable?
Right.
What's going to happen when they get to the point where if you're no longer employable, have you saved enough to live the rest of your life?
Yeah.
And whether you do or not, a conversation I was having this morning in one of my networking groups, and it's kind of sort of around a little bit, but there was a guy in the group who works with people over 60, typically over 60, and the market he's in is those people 60, 65, 70, 75, whatever age it is, they're getting to the point where they're going to have to go into some type of facility, a nursing home, an assisted living home, something else. But most people haven't saved for it. So then what do you do? Because Medicare, Medicaid may not and probably won't pay or pay enough. So how do you get the money for that?
Your favorite
And
topic.
then
I get 10 credit cards.
that's one option.
It's
I
one
don't know if
option.
that's the best option, but it's an option. Um,
Right.
but then the next part of that whole conversation was when people can't afford it, they're going to have to figure out somewhere where to go.
Yeah.
And because the government is cutting back because they can't afford it anymore, there's not enough new construction being done to create new homes.
Oh,
So
wow.
if, so if these people that are aging have nowhere to go, may not have children or have children that want them to move in with them,
Mhm.
where do these people go? So the financial side is hitting everybody. It's
Yeah.
young kids that may not be able to get a job. It's middle income who now have the house, the family, who are worried every day, will they be employed? So the psychological piece. Then you have the older who are maybe not as financially able and ready as they could have been if somebody would have explained this to them years ago.
Years
So
ago,
they're
right?
so it's this
Yeah.
financial challenge across the board.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if there is an
Yeah.
answer, but it can only get
I
worse.
I think you had the answer, Steve. You educate these people at a younger age to make sure that they talk to you and you make sure that they, you know, follow through with your processes to set up a good plan for them, to plan for this so this doesn't happen in 30 years to them, right? So you're not having your kids try to make decisions when they do turn 65, 70, 75, and they're no longer employable, right? I think you nailed it on the head, man. You have the answers. Just reach out to you, call you, email you, text you, whatever the people want to, what anybody that's watching this and listening, you know, contact you to make sure that this doesn't happen to you. Do something now.
Yeah,
If you're in your 20s, your 30s, right? Even younger, even a little bit older, do something now because there's always an option,
sure there
you
is.
know,
Sure there is.
you know.
When I sit down with families at all ages, one of the things we look at is where are you spending your money? Now, again, we're not criticizing anybody. We're just trying to get an idea.
Yeah.
And when a family says, I make X dollars and I have nothing left at the end of the month, let's take a look at where you're spending it. So you have to live somewhere. I get it. You have to put food on the table. I get it. If you have a car, you need insurance, you need gas, you need maintenance. There are certain things you have to do.
Yeah.
But when you start looking at the line items, do you need the $800 a month lease? Can you do a $400 a month lease? Do you have to eat out 20 nights a month? Can you eat out 10 nights a month? Do you have to go to Starbucks every day and spend $15, or can you go once a day and spend $5? When
Yeah.
you start
Right.
looking at all those things. So my point is, when you start looking at all the money that you spend, if you can, and again, everybody's different, so I'm not giving you numbers, but if you can put that little bit of money every month into a specific type of vehicle and watch it grow over time,
Yeah.
when you get to that point, which you can then decide, not somebody else telling you it's time,
Yeah.
now you can live the life you want to live
Live
and
and
pay
pay.
no taxes.
Yeah.
No taxes. And
Yeah.
that echoes back, by the way. It's coming in and out. I don't know why.
Yeah, I
Um,
heard you. I watched. So if you look at my name, I can see it in yours. You have the bars, and it'll show you how your connection is.
I
And
don't have.
sometimes yours will go orange. It'll say
Oh,
you're having a tough connection.
oh, okay. I don't see the bars. Maybe you see it on your side. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
it's in yours, so and it tells me when you
oh,
have. But you were fine. But
okay.
anyway, carrying on with what you're talking about. And the other part of that too, right, is to let people know that um, if they don't make it to that age, that money is still available for the beneficiaries, right?
Correct. Correct. That
I
money,
mean, how
yeah,
can you say no to this, right? I
that
mean,
money is never lost. Never
yeah,
lost.
yeah,
I,
right.
I, I mean, this is going to sound morbid, but it's kind of funny. Um, I've set myself up because I learned by reading and watching and participating, and
Mhm.
part of the company I'm in now, I learned certain things. And before I joined this company, I was the term is financially illiterate. And I was. I mean, I'm somewhat smart. I have an accounting degree, 30 years in corporate and all that stuff. But I didn't know this. So I am now in a position that I said to my kids, and I this is a true story. I said to my kids, I am worth more dead than alive. I am, based on my income and what I have set aside and whatnot.
Yeah,
And they looked at me and they said, "Oh." And then I said to them, "But understand clearly, you are my two kids, they're split 50-50 as my beneficiaries. But I also said to them, just keep one thing in mind. If I should die in a way that is very suspicious, all the money that I have set for the two of you is going somewhere else.
it's going to a
You're
charity.
not getting it. So
You're
so
not
make
getting
sure I
it.
stay alive a long time." But I mean I joke, but it is a true story, by the way.
Yeah,
But to your point, a little bit of money, and I'm talking a little bit of money, the
yeah,
younger you start, the more you will have down the road.
yeah.
And you
And
will
real quick,
then,
not to go off topic with this a little bit on this with you too, but I'm a big fan of final expense policies. I really am. I think it's cool.
okay, so final expense policies, they are good. They're meant, like you said, final expenses.
Yeah,
However,
yeah,
they're expensive.
yeah,
So if you wait and wait and wait, you can buy one guaranteed that they will give you the insurance, final expense insurance, and it's typically 15, 20, $30,000 enough for final expense. That's why it's called final expense.
that's called final expense. Yeah,
But if you get something for a lot less money at a much younger age, you will have a lot more. So not only will you have just
yeah,
final expense, but you can have money to live on as you get older. We talked earlier about going into a home and having money to
yeah,
live. You can
yeah.
leave a legacy. You can do all kinds of stuff
And the
that you
reason I
would.
mentioned the final expense was because, we're talking about beyond 60, 65.
Mhm.
If you're at that age where you're like me, you have nothing right now and you're trying to build that back, you know, when I get into my 60s and 70s, if I still don't have this built, the final expense probably would be an option, a good option for
It
me
would.
to
It
have
would.
something that way when I do,
It would.
pass on to that
Yes.
stage, my kids
Yes.
aren't stuck with what will we do with that? You
Correct.
know what I
Now
mean?
it is guaranteed. So whether
Right.
you're 65 or 85, you're guaranteed to be covered.
Yeah.
The difference is, though, the older you are, the more it's going to be.
Where it's going to be. Yep.
It could be significantly more.
Yeah.
So if you're going to do something earlier,
Yeah.
earlier is the key.
And that's why we push that. When you're young, man, jump on this,
Yeah.
make it happen.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And it's
Yep.
so inexpensive. So, I mean, my kids
Yeah.
are 39 and 34, and they're both covered for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had stuff. When I was working in the corporate industry. You had things set up for your kids,
Mm,
but when you don't work there anymore,
right.
it doesn't exist. It's gone.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
What is not told to people, and this is one of the many areas that just drives me insane. What is not told to you is you work for a company and you get what they call group term. So because it's the group and they look at everybody's age and health and all the things they look at, and they come up with an average price per person. So it's cheaper for the company because they're paying for it. But what they don't tell you is when you leave that company, you lose the coverage.
Yep. Gone. Just
So
like your
what,
health insurance.
right. Yeah.
6 months, gone.
So what we tell people is
Yeah.
let your company give it to you. It's free to you. Take it, but
Yeah.
have something on the outside
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
if that time comes, and at some point it will, whether you
It will.
age out or so, or they let you go or something, you
Yeah.
still have something that's when you bought it earlier and healthier, it's much, much cheaper. Then
Yeah.
you can maintain it going forward and the price doesn't go up.
Yeah. Hey, real quick before we close up here, is there something you can get through a company that you can take with you, not like a 401k, like health insurance? Do they have anything like that?
Usually it's all group and it's
Yeah,
all
gotcha.
you leave the company, you lose it.
Is it-
Now I'm
Gotcha.
working on something now with a couple of companies for and they're allowed to do this, which again is a little annoying, but okay. But they can take the business owners or the partners or some key executives, key people, and give them as part of their package a policy that names the business as the beneficiary, which really doesn't help the person or their family. But
Scary.
my my proposal to some of these companies is have a policy that let's just call it $1 million policy. Half that policy goes to the company because they're paying for it,
Sure.
and half goes to the employee's family.
Oh,
If
wow.
the employee should leave, they can, because it's individual, they can
Mhm.
take that policy. They have to now pay for it, but they can take that policy, make it 100% their family, and take it with them.
That's very
But
interesting.
because they bought it earlier when they were healthier, it's much cheaper. Again, back to
Yeah.
the same thing. So
Right.
it's a great way for the company to reward the employee for staying, because that is a big perk.
Right.
And it also gives the employee the chance, should they leave, to take it with them. So to your point, that case, it's portable. As a
Yeah.
group, it's not.
Yeah. Good stuff. I
Yeah,
like it. That's very, very that you explained it very well. And you
I
explained it
try.
to a way that I understood it, because we can tell you're very knowledgeable in your industry and
Thanks.
you gave the good information. And I hope people really, listen to this and reach out to you to really do something, to put themselves in a better situation than I'm in, So I mean, it
Well,
happens, right? I mean,
yeah,
it's
we'll work on you
our
too.
life.
We'll work on you too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that because I definitely want to do something.
Yeah,
We'll talk about that in the upcoming weeks. I want to
yeah.
get with you, I got a couple ideas I want to put together
Okay,
to do something, so
good.
I mean, again, another great episode.
Yeah, I
It's,
got it. Yeah, I think
man,
it was good.
yeah, great topic. I hope
Yeah.
everybody got something out of this,
Yeah.
and
But yeah, and again,
like I said,
we
reach
want
out to us.
yeah, we want to throw it out to
Yeah,
the viewing audience. If there's a topic you want to talk about, if there's questions you want to ask us, our numbers are on the screen. You can get in touch with us. Let us know. We want to hear from you. This is what we do here is to help you. These are topics
yeah,
we think about. But if
yep,
there's things you want us to talk about, let us know.
yep.
If we don't know anything about it, we'll research it.
You got it.
But if we, and then we'll come back to you with some, again, our ideas, which is not going to be a textbook definition. I promise you that it's not. Okay. But we're going to give
Right.
you the real world of what's really going on. And that's what you want.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
All right. Again, thanks for coming on a Friday for podcast
Yeah.
because
It's 4 o'clock somewhere.
4 o'clock somewhere. Steve, another great episode, man.
Yep.
Appreciate
Yep.
you. Thanks for
You
coming
got
on
it. You as
again.
well.
You as well. Everybody, have a great evening, great weekend, and we'll talk soon.
You got it. Thanks, Jeff.
See you,
Take
buddy.
care,
Take
everyone.
care. See you, buddy.
Bye.
You've been watching the Friday at 4 podcast series with your host Charles Luttrell and co-host Steve Kent. Thanks for watching.